At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today and let us surprise you.
Monday, AI agents took over my work. And I absolutely love it. Chasing deadlines, writing status reports, updating stakeholders. Agents handle the daily grind now. They live inside Monday.com, so they see the full picture. My work, my team, the whole company. And I don't have to worry about the data. It's safe, which means I'm free to focus on the big stuff, knowing everything runs smoothly in the background. It's completely shifted the way we work. Create your own AI agent in minutes on Monday.com.
All right, so we're back with Justice for Lonene Rogers with Alison Diker. And Alison, you're always bringing great guests on. Who do you have with us before us right now?
So I have two very important people in my daily life with me. This is my principal, Mr. Antonio Gaines.
Hello.
And
Hello.
this is, I share a room. She's the speech pathologist in my building. This is Holly Miltner.
Hi.
Hi, Holly. How are you?
Listened to like the daily escapades of this story and the dramas and the you're never going to believe this. And now guess what? All this time.
Wow.
Wow. So you've been there, you've been hearing it all. So that's amazing. And it's like looks like you guys are very supportive. But we've been told by Alison, you guys have been super supportive of her cause. So let's start off. Is it Holly?
Yes.
Yes, Holly. Let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little about what you know about Alison and this crazy case that she's involved in.
Yeah. So like she said, I am the speech therapist at the school that she teaches at as a special ed teacher. We have shared a classroom for the last 3-4 years. So, I know her very well. We know, obviously our professional lives, our personal lives, just from being together all day. And then in the last, couple years, she started mentioning a little more. She had her book come out, mentioning things about her mom's case. And I'd say, in the last year, things have really, picked up a lot. And it's, become to the point where every day I come in and I'm like, okay, like what's new? What are we going to learn today? And, it's just, she spends every lunch break, working through her lunch on the case. It's like she clocks out teacher and she's immediately calling the state police or calling this person. And I'm just sitting there typing and kind of listening to some of these things. And it's just been amazing to see, like I said, in the last year or so, just like everything ramp up and seeing how, she's amazing. Like if you heard some of these phone calls, like she wasn't playing around, like she meant business and she's gotten the answers that she's been looking for. So it's just been interesting being kind of that person in the corner, kind of listening while I'm just working on my computer, but hearing everything that's been going on.
Well, I just want to go back for a minute. Are you a true crime person at all?
I am. Yes, that's all I read, like when I read at night or when I listen to podcasts. So to hear it happening in real life and kind of seeing like, so that's how that happens, or that's how you figured that out, or just seeing like all the work she's had to put in to make this happen. It's been like dead end, having to like pull teeth in this direction, pull teeth in that direction to get answers and people to talk to her. So just seeing all that goes into it too, to try to get answers.
Was that surprising to you?
Very. Yeah. In a documentary, it looks so easy. Like you have a crime, you solve the case and everything fits together like a puzzle. And that is not how it is.
Yeah. They don't tell you about all the protracted period of time that you have to deal with it. And Alice in particular, we're talking 40 years. Yes. So it's like she's been dealing with this 40 years.
Like these little years of it. She's had the whole lifetime of it.
When you first heard about the case, Holly, what did you think? Like, were you just like shocked to hear about it in the first place?
I think one day when we first got to know each other, she's like, my mom's missing. Like she's been missing for like 40 years. And I was like, what? It's like, you got to catch me up here. So I think once I first really heard about the case and then her book came out and reading that, I was just shocked that like all that happened to someone that I know, like you usually don't come across these things in your real life. You just see them on TV. So I think it was just amazing to like hear that and just shocking. And then, as things have unfolded, I've just been shocked, I think is my main word the whole time, with just how things have gone. And then, learning things about her biological father, and it's just been wild.
Yeah. And then, so how long have you been working with Alison right now?
We've worked together for, I don't know, 5-6 years, but we've shared a classroom together the past like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So we've been
you were there when she got the confession from the dad.
Absolutely.
I was actually, I remember like coming in the next day and we just like looked at each other and we're just like, what? Like it happened.
Were you on maternity?
I was out with my son. My son had an injury and I had to take some personal leave, and she like messaged me right away and she's like, guess what just happened? Like, guess what? And then when I came in, I just remember looking at her and we're just like, oh my God, it happened. Like he finally confessed. That was,
All right.
You've been living like each step,
Mm-hmm.
like each day hearing, the battles and updates.
Sorry, she just got a crime call. So sorry. It's like we had another case we're working on that. Yeah. So, all right. So Mr. Principal. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us how you met Alison and what do you think about this courageous woman sitting next to you?
So Antonio Gaines, I'm the school principal here that she teaches at. Been knowing Ms. Dyker for 3 years now. And I've been tuned in to every step of the case. So when it was introduced to me 3 years ago and up until now where everything is starting to unfold. So it for me, I looked at it as its own docuseries because I'm waiting on the edge of my seat for the next text message, or she'll send me an interview that she's done, or she'll say, hey, check this out, or like Ms. Milton or Holly said, hey, I got the confession, and I will come to her classroom and just ask questions. Just how does this work? So what happens next? Where do you go from here? And Ms. Dyker has been a trooper throughout this entire time, even with some of the, the roadblocks that she faced with the confession and, some of the things that transpire with different dates. But still come every day, smile on her face, despite what's going on outside in her personal life. She still save face for the students and, her colleagues. And it's just been a pleasure, listening to this. And like Holly said, I'm like, I go home and say, hey, I know this person, like this true crime story is unfolding. And I'm actually, I'll say a part of it, but actually,
you are
actually witnessing it unfold. And it's just a good experience as of right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just as a principal, I mean, you're an administrator and you have a lot of responsibilities and I mean, some school systems wouldn't want this kind of attention, this unwanted attention, but it's so, I can tell just by the way you guys are sitting and your demeanors and how you're talking about Alison that you provided a support group for her.
Absolutely.
But can you talk a little bit about that, about how the school supports her and her quest for justice?
Yes. So at one point, when she, correct me if I'm wrong, you went to the courthouse and it was for a particular hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Where we all wore purple.
Yeah.
So we as a school family all wore purple in support of Alison and just the hunt for finding justice for her mom. And then on top of that, everyone checks in on her because pretty much everyone knows what's going on for the past few years now. But getting into, we'll say the meat and potatoes of the actual case and as it unfolding, everyone that surrounds her asks her questions, asks if she need anything. But normally she don't need anything. But we just here just to support as much as we can. and like us doing this, you know, this is a support system as well.
But Alison, what does it mean to you to have the support from your workplace and your colleagues and the students and the entire school? That's got to be huge for you.
It's huge. So the day that the last hearing that they canceled was the day that, you know, I'm frustrated because last minute they canceled it. And I was like, well, I'm doing the rally anyway, because the rally was for domestic violence, and that the reason for that rally still exists. And then to get a text message of a picture of the staff all like grouped together wearing purple. There was one teacher who wore, he is a guy, so he had like purple shoes on, and he was like sitting sideways, like, look at my shoes. It was just like, it touched my heart, because like, so any educator, our lives are our job. Like we live and breathe our job, whether we're here or not. So I kind of felt like my perspective on all of this was, I can't not tell them, like, this is my work family, and we're all very close and supportive of each other. And if I'm going to do my job and do it well, I need the people around me to know what I'm going through, in case like I need support, or in case I can be a support to someone else. You know, like, for example, we had a student whose parents were deaf, and I had another teacher come to me, and she only knew that I knew sign because of this story, because I was adopted, not by deaf parents. So she knew that because she knew the story, and she asked me if I could help interpret during a parent conference so that she could understand. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I feel like that's an example of how, like, we all have a work life and we have a home life, but there are many times that they kind of blend together. And, you know, me knowing, you know, a little bit about Holly's home life helps me to know, you know, that she might be really good in working with, you know, a child that has a 3-year-old, or, you know, it all like blends together. So I felt like it was important to be honest, and I didn't have a problem about talking about it. And I'm always an open book. So I have no problem with that. And I feel like it helps others too, because, you know, we've all got something in our world that we're dealing with. And I think it helps others deal with their struggles too. At least I hope it does. And vice versa. You know, when they know that the hearing was canceled, you know, of course I'm going to be upset. And people were like, how are you? Like, are you okay? And I'd be like, I'm all right. I'm just frustrated, you know, but that was really kind, you know, of my coworkers, knowing what was going on, to just check in on me from time to time.
That's amazing. I mean, we just came back from CrimeCon, and we met a lot of victims' families. We met Gabby Petito's mom. We met a lot of people. And the one thing the women have in common with the family, whether it's a family was murdered or they're missing still, is the ones that are successful at it are people like you, Alison. People that you guys have all this one common denominator. You have strength, and you are an open book. And I think it's important that, you know, and I know it's hard to do. Not everybody has the personality or the tenacity that you have. But, you know, I always tell people, we were talking about your case in one of the forums that we were in, one of the panels. And we kind of labeled you, as well as all the other people, like Drew Kesse and Paula Fielder and you know, and Allison Diker, how the one common thread that they have is just no quit. And they don't, you guys don't suffer fools. So it's like you're just plowing ahead. But I want to go back to Holly. Holly,
Sure.
Because the thing that really amazed me about this whole case is when she told us at 5 years old that she was the base translator and communicator for both her parents. And you work with children, you're around children. I mean, what is that? I can't even visualize that, Holly.
He has a 4-year-old right now.
You have a 4-year-old. I mean, you know, you got one more year. You got one more year to teach him sign language.
Right.
Fluently.
Fluently, and be able to communicate with adults. I mean, I can't even wrap my brain around. I still can't. I have a hard time. How about you?
I mean, yeah, our building has kindergarten in it. So we have over 100 5-year-olds in the building. And I cannot imagine any of them being in charge of such a thing. I mean, you know, I think about a 5-year-old in our school. They're still, I think you said in one of the other podcasts I watched, like, they don't know how to tie their shoes yet. You know, you still have to help them, like, you know, I have to go to the bathroom. I need help, like, buttoning myself. Like, they still need help with things like that. They need help opening packages in the lunchroom. They need help walking out and finding their bus. Like, they still need a lot of adult support because they're 5. They're 5 years old. Like, we have shoes that are older than 5 years old, and these are humans, you know, like, and then in her case, like, she's expected to take on this, like, almost like the reverse parenting role of, like, being the interpreter and being the translator and having to interact with conversations and topics that probably a 5-year-old shouldn't even be exposed to, you know, trying to, you know, for her father. I can't comprehend that. I can't think of any one of these 100 students doing that, and I would never expect them to. So it's the fact that she had to do that regularly, and that's just how she, you know, she didn't know any different. That's just how she grew up. And again, I think even just the content, you know, her dad was not a good or nice person. So I would have to imagine that a lot of the conversations that she had to translate were not positive. They were about things that a 5-year-old shouldn't even be talking or thinking about. But she was the one that was having to do that.
Yeah, I mean, she had to read between the lines. She
Right.
had, I mean, that to me, what you did, and I mean, and you were a prodigy. I don't know anything else how to explain it for someone, you know, no different than those 5-year-olds who sit behind a piano and crank out Chopin. You know, I mean, you were at that level of being able to, you know, escalate your abilities to be able to
Wrong
become.
perceive it.
Yeah.
Yes, and basically become, you were an adult. You were their parent. You weren't the child of deaf adults. You were basically your parent, because you were based upon even what your uncles and people that we know that know you. I mean, they just couldn't believe that that was your responsibility. And I mean, it's just, and you were just thrust into it from the day you were born.
Right.
And on my end, I didn't know any different. So I'm like, yeah.
Exactly. How about you, Mr. Principal? I mean, have you ever encountered a 5-year-old who can sign and interpret for adults?
Absolutely not. And like when it came out, and I think I asked you, like, you really did that? Like, at that age? And like Holly said, we have kids that don't know how to tie their shoes, barely know their first name besides their nickname. And you have Alison over here signing, you know, communication between two adults.
Yeah.
So I just think that's just remarkable and just totally advanced for her age at that time.
That's amazing. Listen, you're not all shucks. You deserve all the praise you get. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, it's like, and that's what I think is really interesting about you, Alison, is that you're not looking. I mean, this is obviously you're getting attention for this, but the attention you get does not dissuade you from your goal. And, you know, it's like, yeah, it's great that I'm getting this story out there and people want to talk to me about this. But what's really important is the end result, is to find justice for your mother and to make sure your father, who, like I said, confessed, and like you said, we've all talked about this, confessed 3 times, you know, pays for his crime. And regardless of why he confessed, we're all just happy that he did. And hopefully the court system does not muck it up, so to speak. And it's just, don't take the people's time to try to litigate and create more procedural issues just so this man can find, you know, so you can find justice for your mom. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well,
Alison?
I was gonna say too, when you just said about like the attention, another thing for me being in the same room as her is seeing, like, you know, people see these podcasts that she does, or they see what she puts on her Facebook justice page, but like I see like the behind the scenes Alison, and I mean, she works this case. Like I said, at lunchtime, it's like 12 o'clock. She checks out her teacher and she turns into investigator mode. I mean, I've heard her on the phone with the police. I've heard her on the phone with the, district attorney. Yeah, like I've heard her on the phone with all these people, the private investigator. And like she spends her whole lunch working this case, calling people, being like, why wasn't this done? Why didn't you look at this? What are you going to do about this? When are you going to do this follow-up? Like keeping on them and pushing them forward. So she's done a lot of legwork that people might not see. But she's done a lot for this case.
I mean, and what have you learned from that process, Holly? I mean, what have you learned?
I mean, I knew nothing. Like I said, I watched the documentaries and I see how they do it, but like, I didn't know anything about like the legal system in terms of this. I didn't know about all the different laws. Like, well, this has to be done before this can be done, or we have to know this before we can do this. I mean, just also how hard it is. Like hearing her, I've heard her yell at a state trooper, and I'm like, and I'm just like, why are they so resistant on some of these things when it's a family member of a victim? And just seeing like how hard she has to push them to get anything done is astonishing.
Yeah. Well, obviously you guys, you work for a school, so you probably deal with a lot of bureaucracy, just trying to get things done so you can get your job done. So
Right.
that, unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. And sometimes you do got to yell. Sometimes you got to stomp your foot down, especially when it's for something that is meaningful as trying to find out what happened to your mother. So, and that's the one common denominator that we've noticed in, profiling these cases and helping people with their cases and looking for answers, and you got to get in their face. And because, like I said before, they got a mile long case long of cases, and with Alison's family's case, we're talking 40 years. I mean, there's not many cases. I mean, we only have one case that's longer than yours, and that's the escape from Alcatraz that we're following. And that's, it's 60, it's crazy. So, and even them, we're dealing with the U.S. government. We're dealing with the marshals. We're dealing with the FBI, and they don't want to talk about it. They want it to go away, but we're not letting it go. And they don't, and like the nephew of the two guys escaped is not letting it go. So you do have to make a lot of noise in order to get the attention. And Alison has learned how to work the system. And that's part of it. Don't throw bureaucracy at her, because she'll just figure out a way and to go around it. And if she can't go around it, she's going to make some noise and it's going to end up on the news. So unfortunately, that's pressure is the only way to kind of get your message across. So just tell me a little bit about, I want to hear about Alison, the teacher, and tell me about what she does. I know we talk about her clocking out. After she clocks out, she becomes super mom investigator for her. But does she go in a phone booth and then come out, and or she just like drops right into it?
Well, no, go ahead, Mr. Gaines.
Go ahead.
So, Ms. Diker, Alison Diker, as a teacher, I can say she put forth the best effort in front of the kids. It's always students first. I was actually her evaluator, and coming to sit into her lessons, working with small groups of students, it's a breath of fresh air. And to say that the students really love being around her, it's a sense of calm. The kids can, not that they're not themselves, but they can really be themselves. She pours her all into her lessons, getting the kids to wherever they are, meeting the kids where they're at, and getting them where they needs to be, whether it's social, emotionally, or academically. And she really takes her time with creating the lesson plans and being real thorough with each student and what they really need. It's not just when we say, I'm going to come in to evaluate you. It's not what we call in the educational world, a dog and pony show. She's just doing this so that she can get a good rating. No, she do this authentically. Every day, day in and day out. She's making sure she's putting forth her best version of herself in front of her students. And then that way the students could, be authentically themselves. And I feel that she's very caring and patient. You have to have a lot of patience dealing, especially in the elementary school world of education. because the students want everything real quick, fast, and hurry. And then when they get impatient, they blow up as a volcano. They temper tantrums. But she has a lot of patience on top of dealing with the outside world. It like she could go into a phone booth or in the closet and turns into Alison the crime solver, and then come back into be the teacher. But she's a great professional, and just a great all around teacher.
That's
I
great.
was going to say there's actually an example that happened yesterday with one of her students. He came to our classroom. He had been having a hard time in class. So the teacher asked if he could kind of take a break with Alison in our classroom. And she calmed him down. She, gave him some activities to kind of help regulate himself. And at the end, he walked over to her and gave her the biggest embrace I've ever seen. We actually locked eyes and we were like, oh my gosh, like
he crawled on my lap.
He was like on
to
her,
give me a hug.
hugging her. And this is a first grade student who's going into second grade. So he will be in our building next year. And he said to her unprompted, he goes, Mrs. Staker, I'm going to miss you so much in third grade. And she said, but no, you have one more year in the building. He said, I know, but I'm already thinking that when I go to third grade at a different building, I'm going to miss you so much. And we both were just like, oh my gosh. But that was just like a moment where like that wasn't even an academic moment. That was just like a human to human. She knew that he was having some issues, some trouble, some emotional regulation. She helped him, and he saw that, and he saw that she was caring for him, and he gave her that big hug. And
I feel like I'm drawn to those things. Like I want those kids, those are the ones that I'm like, give me a call. I'll come talk to them, because I feel like it really ties in a lot to my childhood, things that I experienced. And a lot of kids all around the world are struggling, and not just here. And they, our poor babies deal with so much trauma in their lives. And I feel like it's almost like I'm reincarnating in them. Like I think about what I would have needed when I was that age, and what would have worked for me and helped me to calm down, and what I really needed when, I got in trouble often in elementary school. Like I remember it was picture day and we're in the bathroom combing our hair. And this one girl was like very spoiled and, talking about, well, this is Calvin Klein and and I grabbed her overall and I yanked it. And it was just like, it was hitting those moments in me. Like, I'm lucky that I got clean clothes, like, I won't tell you how many times I've worn this and it's picture day, and I had a moment. But those episodes that, I experienced as a kid are about like the neglect that I experienced and how it played out in my life. So, when I see a kid struggling, this particular kid that she was just talking about has a very difficult time, like regulating himself. And honestly, the bottom line is I think he just needs like patience and love. And I don't do anything special. I just lead with love instead of discipline. Discipline comes second. Love comes first. And
you're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
The Hulu original series, Furious, is coming to Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus July 27th.
There are 3 victims we know of. The suspect is female, white, late 20s.
Female serial killers kill for power, control.
I believe there's a deeper motivation here.
You have no idea who you're dealing with, and you are going to end up dead.
I've been waiting for you.
Watch the Hulu original series, Furious, on July 27th. Streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
It just, I just want to give back in that way. So I want those kids, behavior is my specialty.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. One of the things that, because based upon, I mean, both of you guys are educators, bookending Alison here, and an administrator. I mean, based upon her background, there's no reason why she should be the woman she is with all the struggles that she's got on. Because we've seen this in the past. You've seen people come from broken homes. She came home from an extraordinary broken home, had been passed around, her and her brother. I mean, there's no, like, you know, if you took a test, they have those tests on what your childhood was like, and kind of predicts where you should have landed. And, you know, I know I took one because I had a pretty rough childhood, and it had me landing in prison. And it's just like, you know, with all the, so I can't imagine that. So from your guys' perspective as educators and administrator, I mean, I'm sure you deal with this all the time. I mean, those type of children, I mean, she's like a diamond in the rough, like mentally, physically, you know, psychologically strong. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And I've thought about that, but it also like gives me insight. Like when I see some of our kids where I'm like, I hope they don't end up on a bad path. It gives me hope though, that I'm like, look at what she went through and look at her now. Like it is possible. And like knowing like what she did have in her life that was positive with her teacher that ended up adopting her, like knowing that there are things that did work to get her where she is now, like just knowing like it is a possibility. And that's like kind of part of our job is to help these kids get to that point, you know, hopefully.
And I feel like I am who I am today because of all the teachers along the way who took an interest in me, who gave me a reason to want to do something well and do something good. And like, I was the one who was like, yeah, I'll work for that sticker, you know, like those little things that we do just because, you know, they tell us in college, that's what we should do. But there's really so much more to those initiatives that we set for our kids. And all of those initiatives got me to this spot.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And so, Mr. Principal, what do you think about that topic? The fact that I love saying Mr. Principal because I feel like I'm back in school.
Well, he was always
I was going to say, does that bring you back to the
childhood? In the principal's office quite a bit.
Not me, but he was.
Yeah, that was misunderstood.
So,
but what do you think about the fact that she's turned out the way she is based upon her background?
Yeah, so I look at it as you don't have to become a product of your environment, and that just what comes to mind. All the adversity she dealt with, the odds were stacked up against her, and people on the outside looking in. It could have been some family members, some close friends, you know, some teachers that, you know, she's going through a lot, you know, kind of like wrote her off, or you're not going to be anything. But I feel whatever that was inside of her at the moment, with being able to sign at the age of 5, she had some type of gift, some calling on her life. And look at her today. I'm amazed by it because you look at some of the kids that we have in our school building today, and I use that, and I use, you know, my own experiences. And then also, you know, definitely would use Ms. Dyker's experiences, like, hey, whatever you're going through right now, okay, tough times don't last always. And what you need to do is just have something in you, something that can motivate you, that can get you through this time period, because life is not going to be perfect. And people say life is going to life. But at some point, we got to find a way to get through it so that we can get through it and go through it and then come out a better person. And that's exactly what she did.
Yeah, it must be for you as a principal for that school so empowering to have someone like Alison there that you can turn students to when that are on that fence and who are struggling with their, you know, their childhood, their family, and all the stuff that where you can literally go to the bullpen and she's your relief pitcher and go, well, Alison, can you come in here? And it's got to be a huge, you know, because not everybody has those experiences and you can't really relate to them. And it's probably why that young boy, as you told me, Holly, just climbed up into her lap and was upset that he's not going to be there for 3rd grade.
Right. In 1 year. Yeah.
And students at this age, and students in general, are a good judge of character. And they are some outspoken individuals. They're truth tellers. For me, if I wear a shirt that's too tight, they'll let me know. if I don't have a haircut or oh, you need one. So they are a good judge of character, and they are authentic, and they know when you are for them, and they know that when you don't really care too much for them. And with her having that student, crawl into her lap, and I know it's just not this student, it's multiple students that probably would do this, but it's the sense of the student already thinking in the future, man, I'm going to miss Miss Diker. You got a whole another 187 more days with her. I don't care about those. I'm caring about the ones where I got to go through 3 through 12, without Miss Diker. So that's the impact that, when you lay your head up at night on the pillow, it's not always about the money and education. We know that. But it's those moments right there is what I call my paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. So, Alison, so like you said, you're an open book. Were you at all apprehensive of sharing your story with your colleagues when you started at that job?
So I pause only because there was a change within me. Like there was a long period of time where I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't talk about it. I didn't share about it. I was who I was, and that's that. But as the case became more a part of my life, I often feel like you can't separate it. And so then I felt like I needed to tell my boss because I was going to be in the news, and I wasn't, at first, I wasn't really sure how it would be received by coworkers, my boss, from parents. Like I didn't know if it would be something looked down on because it's, it's crime. It's a violent crime.
Exactly.
Would people be worried that, I'm related to this story, or would my principal think that I have tendencies or something? You do things in your head. Like, will people think poorly of me? But I'm telling you, our building, everybody probably says this about their building, but we just have a very special professional bond in this building. We take care of each other. Mm-hmm. And that has nothing to do with my story. It speaks to the solidarity in us as a staff. Like, we are here for each other. We've had, people with cancer, and, we do dinners, we do whatever, we just take care of each other. So based on feeling that, being part of that for someone else, like being part of helping someone else through a struggle. We had a teacher who had a house fire. We did everything we could to try to raise money and help her. And that's just like the power of the human spirit, the power of resilience. And that made me feel comfortable enough to share it. And I remember first going to Antonio's office and saying, I need to talk. And he's always like, okay, my door's always open. I'm like, no, but can we close it this time? My door's always open. So I appreciated that, but I'm like, not this time. And I remember starting to tell him, and you have all that like anxiety, thinking, I don't really know what he's going to think, but, I'm going to tell him the story so he's aware that it's also in the media, and, it went national on News Nation. And while I'm proud of that, because of the reason I want this story told from every corner of the nation, the world, because of domestic violence and what happened to my mother, all of that can be prevented. And that's what I want to speak. But with that comes these tough conversations. And, he was like on the edge of his seat, like, all right, tell me more. And I'm kind of like guided by his reactions. Like, you give as much as you get. And he has always made me feel comfortable in the story that I tell, and safe enough that he is a good listener, that, there's no judgment. And I feel this absolutely the same about Holly, where Holly gets my days in and out. And pretty much, Antonio also gets my ins and outs, but he's more like, he checks in like, You doing all right? What are things going on? But I hope that connection is, something that others see too, like you don't know them, I hope that from what comes from, I'm always looking for something positive. Like I'm always thinking, how can we turn this negative into a positive? And I hope that I experienced this awful story and I can't do anything about it. I didn't choose it. It happened, but I can choose what I do with it. And, they can choose how they respond. And they made me feel safe and comfortable. And I believe every student in this building feels safe and comfortable when they come to them as well. And all of that is like the positive cycle of resilience and love and support. And that's what, I pray spreads like wildfire.
Yeah. Antonio, what was your reaction after that? She told you, downloaded you in that meeting.
Well,
so when she came, my door's always open if anyone need to talk or whatever the case may be. When she said close the door, I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, I always joke like I didn't do it. But when she began to tell me the story, and kind of like how it was unfolding and everything, and how much traction is getting, I was tuned in. I was locked in from day one. And as she's telling me this, I'm like, okay, like she said, give me more. Like, so I'm asking questions, not knowing that she came in with so much anxiety. I'm asking questions because I just want to know, like, what's happening next? Then what did this person say? Then what do you have to do? Asking those questions, not knowing that I'm, easing her anxiety. But for me, I'm like, this is some good stuff. And I'm like, it's like I said before, it felt like a docu-series at the moment. And then as time went on, I'm checking in. She's sending me text messages, and then I know we were conversing over the weekend and sometimes, and I'll be at the grocery store, AirPods in, listening. I mean, I was that inclined. I'm like, oh wow, this is good. And then I'm sharing the story with my family, and they're like, so whatever happened? And when my daughter came in, I'm like, that's her. So it's kind of like she's our celebrity.
And you're living it. Like, you're not watching this on Lifetime or the ID channel. Like this is the story you're living.
Yeah. So you got no pushback from people at the school district or anything about this? I mean,
no, not at all. Right. People just check in and how are you, and don't really act any different.
No.
Actually, when I told him, he's like, wait a minute. When he moved into his office, he's like, I think there was a book here with your name on it. Now that I think about it, he's like, I think I have your book.
Because I think you did
the principal before you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And something at Heskey.
Oh yes, I went to a book night and I did an author talk. That's another thing. Mm-hmm. So when I was in a different building, they did the PTA decided they wanted to do a book club among parents in the school, and they chose my book. And I was like, okay, well, let's do this. And, here I am, they're asking me questions, and I was happy for that. And the reason why is like what you were saying earlier about seeing that positive can come from trauma. Mm-hmm. Like our kiddos that are so troubled and, so defiant, some of that comes from trauma, and that doesn't mean that's their sentence for life at 5. It means in that moment they need help getting through it, and they could be our next president. You just never know. But I actually was very proud to be part of that book club with the PTA, even though I was a little nervous, but I was strong in my convictions that I'll tell you what happened to me, because I stand in my own spirit now that I designed. Like I get to say what I do, how my choices affect me. I get to change my life as an adult, where as a child, I didn't have those options. And I feel that way with the kids that we deal with. They don't have the option to choose something different for them, for their lives. It's what they were dealt. It was the hand they were dealt. And if we, as educators, plant those seeds that I was given as a child, you never know where they'll take those seeds.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? The thing that I'm just trying to imagine now is these young students that you're teaching right now. What is it going to be like for them when they become young adults and they start looking back into your history and realizing what you threw? I mean, because I had a history teacher who was like a Vietnam War hero when I was like in 8th grade, and we knew nothing about it until I didn't know anything about it until I was 18, until I started doing. There was an article on him, and I was like, wow, it's like it gave me like a whole new perspective on how he taught us, because he was like the best teacher ever too. And he was I remember his name, Mr. DeVoe. And he was funny, he was engaging, he made history fun. He like turned it on its head, so even if you weren't into history, he would make it into it. And I was like, when I realized what he had gone through, and I read an article what he suffered through in Vietnam, it just like, it was like, wow. I go, this guy saw the worst of the worst that life can hand you, and he was still so positive and all of those attributes that you need, and he inspired us. And it doesn't, you got to be a very strong individual. It's going to be interesting to see what your students find out about you as they grow older, because obviously it sounds like they're never going to forget you.
No, I'm kind of surprised that I haven't had questions from parents, because it's been on our local news, it's on the national, it's in podcasts, it's it's all around. And I do dismissal duty, which means we walk kids by hand to their cars, put them in their cars, and I love that. But I often wonder, like, do any of these people, have they ever made that connection, of who I am? And I would happily entertain conversation, because I so desperately want the message to be spread that you may not be able to choose what happens to you, but you can choose what you do with it. And, I certainly have every reason and excuse to do nothing with my life, but what good would that do? It doesn't please me, and wouldn't please anybody else. So why would I do that? Like, it doesn't honor me, and it doesn't honor my mother. So I'm not going to be like him. And same with our kids, same with our parents. They have a story of their own too. We all do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's why you're so inspiring, Alison. And I think that's what really drew us into this story to begin with, was because of your resiliency and your, mindset of positivity, which I think is so important under these tragic circumstances. But also, I think it's interesting for both Antonio and for Holly that you guys are watching a true crime documentary unfold in front of your eyes. That has to be weird, right? I mean, that's our world. We've been producing true crime documentaries for over 20 years. But for people that don't understand or know these things, I mean, I'm just curious how that feels. Antonio, I might have missed this when I had to take an emergency phone call, but did you feel like, is this real? How is this happening at my school?
Like, as I, catch up on the podcast and all of the different developments that comes out, I don't think, for me, the reality haven't set in yet until it maybe all comes out in like a big picture. And I was like, wow. But at the time when she first told me, and I like the first beginning of the case, and I was seeing her go back and forth to PA, and I'm like, wow, this is very interesting, which leads me to ask more questions. And while it's unfolding, I'm just here for the support. I mean, also here to just, hey, what's the latest? But it's more as far as the support, and then it hasn't really set in as of yet. It probably I'll probably pinch myself like, wow, I really know that lady. Like, I do, like, she's like a celebrity. But
it's like a slow boil.
Yeah.
You don't realize it.
Yes.
I think it's wonderful that she has all the support. But Holly, for you as a true crime enthusiast, like, where was your mind going before she got the confession? I mean, you must have heard about this before her father confessed. What did you think had happened to her mother?
I mean, when I first heard it, ever since I heard about it, I was like, he had to do it. Like, he does not sound like a good person. He has such a bad history. I've always been like, he had to do it. How, why, when, I don't know. But when when we got that confession when I was out on medical leave, and she texted me, it was right before Thanksgiving. I remember.
Yep.
And I just remember, you know, I looked at my phone and I was just sort of like that tunnel vision, like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe it. And I remember I was like, I told my husband, I'm like, you can't tell anybody. I was like, but I have to tell you something. I have to tell someone.
I mean, I know it's crazy because it's only happened to us a few times when there's a resolution in one of the cases that we're profiling and investigating.
Which is why I had to take that phone call, because something's about to happen.
Exactly. So like in February, we work in this one case, Molly Miller and Colt Haynes in southeastern Oklahoma, and we've been working it since 2018. And then they did a search and they found the remains of both of the victims. And the family called us. I mean, we were in contact with a bunch of people on the ground, and then we couldn't believe it. And it was just like an emotional dump for us, because like we've been trying so hard to get the message out and making sure people understand about this case, and so people don't forget about it. And that's one of the main reasons we help doing this, is making sure people don't forget about the victim's family. People don't forget law enforcement as well, the public, but mostly law enforcement, because they're the ones that are responsible for basically enforcing the law and in the investigation, especially on these cold cases. And yours was colder than Erie, Pennsylvania in the winter. And
until I put a flame to it.
Exactly.
Right.
You torched it
You're
up.
a flamethrower. What are you talking about?
So I can't imagine what, when those milestones happen, when there's breaks in the case and there's a confession, or they find the person. Unfortunately, they found the remains, but at least the family, we never thought they were going to find them ever. We never, the family didn't, and they didn't even care at that point who did it. They didn't care about the conviction or anything. Just wanted the bodies home. So now they have the bodies, and they're going to be able to bury them, which is amazing. And there's some sort of resolution. But for yours right now, Alison, I mean, you're still in that, you have that mini resolution going on, but you're not quite done yet. And
Right.
I know you're rolling up your sleeves and you're ready to fight to make sure that happens. And it looks like you have amazing support at your school, your principal, and your colleague. That's got to be worth the price of gold.
I was just
like,
going to say, like, they're also my sanity. It's like coming to work sometimes is like, gives me the ability to turn that piece off and push it aside and like engage differently, give back differently, focus differently, and not be consumed by all of that. And the support and sometimes it's like, I don't need to talk about it, but like, if Antonio he tells a joke on the announcements every single day, and there are 2 kindergarten classrooms outside.
Wait. I wish I had a principal like that.
They're the corniest things ever. But when you hear kindergarten, like 2 kindergarten classrooms roar in laughter, and then when they stop roaring, you hear him go, bye-bye for now.
and then they're probably repeating it all day long.
Yes. It's the best.
It's so great. That's wonderful.
But that was what I was saying before, is that not everybody has that support system. We have a friend who's become a friend, Drew Kessie, and his daughter's been missing for 20 plus years. And he had he had to quit his job because he's had to change his lifestyle because he didn't want to give up, and none of his employers wanted to deal with his drama. So the fact that you have such a strong support system is it's a blessing. And and it just tells you that they all have your back, and that's a huge thing.
I feel like it's the spirit of teaching, like all of us, we joined education for a reason. And I mean, yes, we're teaching, but truly what we're living is the example we want to set for future generations. And that's like love and how to work through difficult times. And I mean, I feel like the tool is education, but the job is about love, about resilience, about acceptance, about like being just a positive person in the world. And we get to do that every day and support each other in addition to our kids. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't.
And you're such an inspiration, Alison, to anyone that meets you or learns your story. I mean, I mean, we just think you're an amazing warrior for justice. And
I was telling him about CrimeCon when we met Gabby Petito's mom, and like, just if you want to talk about.
Oh, she loves you. She was just like, Alison is a warrior, and everyone I talked to, I was telling your story to, and they were just like, wow, because you can't imagine what you've been through. You can't even imagine it, much less the fact that you lived through it. And then to have your resilience and to have such a positive outlook on life, you're a wonderful role model for humanity, not just people in your position, but just overall. And I think that's why you are in this role as an educator, and that you are working with these lovely people, because you're a bright light, Alison, and no one's putting you out. Okay. So your quest has inspired and touched many people and will continue to do so. So I think that everyone could take away something from you, and know that your circumstances don't qualify who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we preached at CrimeCon too, because everybody was asking us, what are some of the qualities? And I said, listen, you just have to look at these victims' families, and you can either fight or you can give up.
You got to just keep going. There's
There's no in between.
No.
And you're fighting.
But thank you for sharing your story with us. And we thank you every week, because we just are so grateful that you are allowing us to share it. And thank you both for coming on today. I apologize truly, but sometimes things happen on their own time schedule.
Yeah.
But it was lovely to have both of you on today. Thank you for insight into Alison's professional life.
Yes.
It's amazing. More to come.